Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tori and Ren YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to sew one of these zipper pockets using a number 3 and number 5 continuous nylon zipper. Now I'm going to be showing you a different method that I don't typically see in a lot of tutorials. In this method, we actually sew the exterior fabric and the lining together with the zipper. So we split our tape and we sew them together. And what this does is it actually keeps everything secured to the zipper. There's no lining visible on the top, and there's also no raw edges inside from our zipper. So I left this one unsewn inside to show you. So I didn't close my lining so I could show you what it'll look like in here. So as you can see here, you have a top stitch on both sides of your lining and no raw edges from that zipper because this is going to fold over. The sides are going to be closed and so is the bottom. So you'll have no raw edges inside and there will be no lining visible on the exterior. Now, this particular method that I'm going to be showing you is really great for use with faux leather and faux suede vinyl. As you can see, I tried it out here with a couple different ones. And the reason I wanted to share this method is I always used to struggle doing these kinds of zipper pockets and I would avoid them at any cost. And that was because I struggled so much with centering my zipper inside of these openings with the basting tape. So putting it on top and centering it all, I just struggled a lot with doing that. So I messed around and figured out this method. I'm not sure if anyone else does it this way, but I thought I would share in case it could help someone else out who maybe struggled just like I did. So if you want to try it out, you can keep watching and let's get started. So to begin this tutorial, we're going to first start with sizing and drawing the opening that we have here for our zipper pocket. Now, since every project is different and you may want to make a larger or smaller zipper pocket than the one I have here, I won't be providing one standard size, but instead I'll be letting you know how to determine how much zipper tape you will need depending on the size pocket you wish to create, as well as how much lining you'll need. And that will be determined based on the depth of the pocket that you'd like. So we'll determine the lining based on how deep you would like the pocket to go or how far down. Once we've done that, we're going to begin constructing a zipper pocket with a number 3 zipper, followed by a number 5 zipper. And after the zippers are installed, the steps to complete both are exactly the same. So I will only be showing that with the number 3 zipper, and the steps can be repeated with the number 5. But let's move on to sizing our pocket opening. Taking the material that you'd like to add your pocket to, mine is this faux leather vinyl by Zipper Valley in the color Seafoam. We're going to flip over to the wrong side and begin drawing our markings for our pocket. Now my piece here already has the center marked. That's because I'm going to be using this piece for a project that you'll see very soon, and I need my pocket to be a certain distance away from the center, so I already have my marking drawn here. Depending on where your pocket needs to go, you may also want to add some foundational markings or some markings that you're going to base your pocket off of for your specific project. Okay, so if you need to do those, you can draw them now. Once you have those markings, we're going to begin our pocket. So I'm just going to rotate mine to the side here because it'll be easier for me to mark. And for my pocket, I know that the top or start of my pocket needs to be 1.25 inches down from the center. So I'm going to get my ruler and I'm going to line it up with that marking that I did. So as you can see here, it's 1.25 inches down. But something I want you to be careful of when drawing this first line, which is the top edge of your pocket, so I'll show you now. It'll be this top edge or start of your pocket in here. You want to make sure that when drawing this line that your ruler is actually straight with your fabric up here. If it's not, let's say it's like this, you're actually going to have a crooked pocket and you don't want to finish your pocket and realize that it's crooked. So you want to start every marking keeping the edge of the fabric straight there. And you can also look down here, it's nice and straight. So I'm going to draw the line for the start of my pocket here. So 1.25 inches down. So I'm going to draw that line. So that's my first line. Now the next line we're going to draw is this bottom edge in here. So we're going to grab our ruler again and we're going to draw 1/2 inch from that first line because we want our opening to be 1/2 inch for our zipper. Now typically a lot of pockets done this way are actually 3/8 wide, But for this particular technique, 1/2 inch actually works a bit better because of the seam allowance, which you'll see later. So that's where my pocket is going to be located, and that's how wide I want it here. Now, obviously I don't want it to go right to the edge, so I'm gonna mark how big I would like my pocket. So I want my specific pocket to be 5 1/4 wide, and I know that's 1 1/2 inches in from each of these edges, so I'm just gonna draw the start and end of my pocket. Okay, so I'm gonna mark that now. So what we've just marked is this section right here and this section right over here. So the start and end. Now, depending on the piece you're using, it could be a lot wider than mine or shorter than mine. You may decide to make your pocket longer or shorter, and that's completely fine. Just mark yours according to the pocket size that you'd like. Taking our ruler again, we're now going to divide this rectangle in half by drawing a line right through the middle through here. So this side will be 1/4 inch and this side will be 1/4 inch. Next, we're going to draw some triangles. So what we're going to do here is we're going to mark 3/8 in from this outer edge right here, so the start or end of our pocket. So 3/8, and I'm just going to do a little dash on the center line, so right there. And the same thing on this side. 3/8 in. Now, putting my ruler aside for now, we're just going to draw triangles to connect this center point to the outer corners. So right here, you want to make sure you go right to that corner. And right over here. So there, and right over here. So if you've done pockets like this before, it's the same process as you typically do. You draw all your markings just like that. Next, what we're going to do is we're now going to cut our zipper tape and our lining pieces. So because we now know how big our zipper pocket is going to be, how wide, we can now cut our zipper tape. So mine here is a 5 1/4, and a general rule for this technique is to either have your zipper tape 7/8 to 1 inch larger on both sides. So because mine's 5 1/4, I could do 7 inches or 7 1/4 for my zipper tape. And the reason I do it quite long on either side is because when you insert your zipper pull later, it's a lot easier when you have a little bit more tape on the ends to work with. You can trim them off later. It's just a little bit more helpful when trying to get those tricky zipper pulls through. So because again, I know mine is 5 1/4, I'm going to cut my zipper tape at either 7 or 7 1/4. Since I'm starting with a number 3 zipper, I'm going to use this one by Sallie Tomato. It's the beige tape with antique coil, and I have mine here measuring 7 inches. I also have one antique zipper pull by Emmeline Bags that I'm going to be adding to my zipper later. Oh, it stuck to my hand. Now that we've determined how much zipper tape we're going to need depending on the pocket we're creating, we're now going to cut our 2 lining pieces. So for both lining pieces, the width is actually going to be cut to the same as the zipper. So 7 inches was mine. So I'm going to be cutting my width of my lining pieces at 7 inches. That's because it makes it a lot easier to keep the lining aligned with the zipper when you're sewing it if they're the same size. Now, in terms of the length, that's going to be based on how deep you'd like your pocket to be. So from here down, I would like my pocket to be 3 inches deep. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my piece at 3 1/2 in length. And the reason it's 3 1/2 and not 3 is because I need a 1/4 inch of seam allowance in here and a 1/4 inch down here. Now for the second piece of lining that's going to be attached to the top and is going to fold over. So I'll grab my other piece again to show you. So this is my 3 1/2 piece, and this is my other piece. This piece is going to fold over. Oh, I have a lot of strings back there. This piece, we're going to cut this one 1 inch longer in length to account for that fold. So the top piece is going to be cut at 4 1/2 in length. So the 2 pieces I'm going to need are 3 1/2 by 7 and 4 1/2 by 7. So 3 1/2 here and 4 1/2 up here. So again, depending on how deep you want your pocket to be, you can change that length measurement, and how wide your pocket will be, you can change the width measurement because that will be based on your zipper tape. I also cut lining and repeated the whole pocket process for the number 5 zipper that I'm going to be installing. So I have my zipper tape here, my pole, my 2 lining pieces, and my faux suede vinyl that I drew my markings on. Now for the number 5 zipper, you're also going to need some double-sided basting tape, just like this one by Unique Sewing. We're now going to begin our zipper pocket assembly with our number 3 zipper. So I have my faux leather vinyl from before with my markings. I have my ruler, a pair of scissors, and a rotary cutter. So what we're first going to do is we're going to cut out some of our markings here, and I just have my marking pen here as like a pointer. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut out this center line going from point to point of our triangle. We won't be cutting in here or in here, only from point to point. Then we're also going to cut out these diagonal lines here for our triangle. So there and there. Okay, so that's what it looks like all cut. Now that that's cut out, as you can see here, we're going to begin adding our zipper tape. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide our zipper into 2 halves, just like so. 1 half is going to be sewn to this part, and 1 half is going to be sewn to this part. Now I'm going to flip to the right side so you can visualize how they're going to be sewn. So this one's going to be sewn with the right sides facing to this side, in line with that edge there. And this one is going to be on the opposite side, just like this. And they're going to be nice and even with each other. But we're actually going to work from the wrong side because that's where our markings are. So I'm going to take 1 half of my zipper tape and I'm going to center it with my pocket here. So as you can see here, I have some markings. So you can either mark the center on both your pocket and the tape, or you can eyeball it. But I'm going to bring the tape behind here because I want the right side of my zipper facing the right side of my fabric. And I'm going to align those center markings. As you can see here, the center. I'm going to get a quilting clip or a pin. And if you're using pins, you want to make sure not to pin on the faux leather over here because it'll leave holes. You can do it within this edge. So I'm just going to pin the rest of the way across. So just pin it across so that the tape is nice and aligned with that edge. And the right side of the tape is facing the right side of your fabric on this side. As you can see. Then what you're going to do is using this cut edge as a guide, see this cut edge here, or even your line, you can sew on the line too. You're going to sew across here using that 1/4 inch, and you're going to sew from corner to corner right along here on this side. Since that's where we have our markings, we can see where we're sewing. Once that seam is done, it'll look something like that. My tape is now attached to this side. We're going to flip over to the right side. Oh, I thought I had white in my bobbin. I guess I had brown thread in my bobbin. But since this is the bottom edge of my pocket, I'm going to be grabbing my smaller piece, the 3.5 by 7 inch piece, the one that's 1 inch less than the other. And I'm actually going to place it with the right side of the fabric facing the back of the zipper and the right side of the exterior, just like this, aligning the edge of the fabric with the edge of the zipper, just like so. Okay, and you can use quilting clips just like last time. If you're using pins, you're going to want to flip over to the wrong side and pin from that side because we will be sewing on that side and you don't want your pins on the opposite side. So just like that, making sure that your lining is in line with that zipper tape. Just going to push my clips through. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to sew in line with the same seam you just sewed to secure your lining to your zipper. So again, from point here to point here. Once the lining is sewn to that half of the zipper, it'll look something like that. So it's starting to take form. We're now going to repeat the same process with the other half of our zipper tape and this edge right here. So we're going to flip over to the wrong side, just like before. And then taking our zipper from back here with the right side of our zipper, facing the right side of our fabric, we're going to center it once again. So center it. And then we're going to take some quilting clips or pins, just like before. So just like this. And once it's clipped or pinned, we're actually going to flip over back to the right side to make sure that our zipper is actually in line. So both halves of our zipper are in line with each other. So here and here. So mine are in line. So what I'm going to do, just like before, is I'm going to sew across here, corner to corner, either by using the line as a guide or by using the edge and using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, which will bring you right on top of that line. Once the remaining half of the zipper is sewn, it'll look something like that. We're now going to rotate this and grab our remaining piece of our lining fabric. This is the larger one, the one that's 1 inch taller. We're going to flip it over so that the right side of the fabric faces the back of the zipper and the right side of the exterior. We're going to align the edge of the fabric with the edge of our zipper. So just like this. We're going to want to make sure that it's aligned with the other lining piece and zipper tape. Once everything's aligned, we're going to take some quilting clips or pins, just like before. We're going to clip it all together to hold it in place. And once that's all aligned, we're going to flip over to the wrong side. And we're going to sew in line with the same seam we just sewed. So let me pull my quilting clips back up. So right in line with the same seam we just sewed from corner to corner. Once that's sewn, it'll look something like this. So as you can see here, both lining pieces are now attached to our zipper. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to bring our lining to the other side by tucking it inside this opening here in the middle. So one at a time. So we're going to start with this one, followed by this one. We're going to tuck it inside here. And then as you can see here, the ends of our zipper are still sticking out, so we're gently going to tuck them inside too. So right under here and right under here. So you can see those ones are inside now. And then the same thing is on this side. We're going to tuck it in over here and tuck it in over here. So that's what it'll look like on this side for now. It will look a lot better afterwards. We're going to flip over to this side, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to the iron and we're actually going to press our fabric away from the zipper on both sides. So over here and over here. Okay, and then afterwards we're going to add in our zipper pull and it'll make it come together a lot better. Once your fabric is pressed away from the zipper, it'll look something like this. You're now going to grab your zipper pull and we're going to begin inserting it into the zipper tape. But before we do that, I want to make note of two things. We're going to flip over to the exterior. The first is these triangles. You want to make sure that they point upward and they stay on this side and are not folded underneath when inserting the pull. That's so that they don't get in the way because it is going to slide right through. The second is that you want to make note of which direction you want the zipper to close toward. If you want your zipper to close this way, you're going to insert it from this side. And if you want it to close that way, you're going to insert it from this side. So depending on the project you're working on, that could really matter. So please pay attention to that. I'm going to be inserting my pull from this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over. You can see my tape here. And this is why we left about 7/8 to 1 inch of tape here so that you have a bit to work with. Now my tape or my pull is getting all twisted in my hands. What we're going to do is we're going to insert an equal amount of tape into each side of the pull right here. A little bit there and a little bit here. And you want to make sure that it's even on both sides. Once you think it's even, so once you see here it's even on both sides, you're going to push it in and you can see up here it's even. And you're going to grab from your pull and you're going to pull it right through. And we don't want to leave this open, so we want to actually pull it right through, out, and then we'll be reinserting it again. This pull here, the little dangle, is really tricky. It keeps getting in the way there. So I'm just going to pull my pull all the way out. So it's out, as you can see here, it's all closed now. And then I'm going to reinsert my pull here and leave it right in the middle. So I'm going to do that now. Once it's inserted into the zipper tape, I'm just going to slide it in the middle. So pull it through under here, being careful not to mess with that triangle there. So right to the middle. And then I'm going to double check that it's even in here, that there's an equal amount of teeth or tape on both sides of my pull. And as you can see here, it is. If it was uneven and you had more tape to one side than the other, you could just pull it back out and try again until it's even here in the center. But now that our pull is centered, as you can see here, we closed each side of our tape. That will actually make it easier for when we sew this part. So we're going to pull our triangles out here and here. And what we're going to do now is we're actually going to sew right across here. So right across here to close that off. And right across here to close this side off. Now, something I want you to pay attention to when you do that is your lining fabric. You want to keep your lining fabric flat in here, just like this, away from the zipper on both sides. You don't want it to fold up and accidentally catch it when you sew that seam. So you want it to be nice and flat underneath. Something else to note is that this seam is going to be visible inside the pocket. It's just going to be a couple stitches right here and here. So you may want to use a bobbin thread that matches your zipper tape so it's nearly invisible because it'll blend right in. So again, we're going to sew it right across here and right in here. Now that those side seams are sewn, it'll look something like that. So as you can see, you have that nice crisp corner and it's nice and sealed all the way around. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to sew a top stitch all the way around the pocket opening. And before you do that, if you want, you can just repress your fabric back here to make sure it's nice and even and away from the zipper. And you're just going to sew all the way around. And this seam is going to be your top stitch on your lining as well. So make sure to use a bobbin color that matches this fabric here. I've just done my top stitch, and that's what the exterior side of my pocket looks like. As you can see here, everything is nice and sewn in. And this is what the lining looks like. There's my top stitch on the back side. And again, there's no exposed raw edges from the zipper here and here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to close up our lining by bringing the top larger lining piece down. We're going to fold it down and align it with that bottom lining piece. So as you can see here, they line up perfectly. And what we're going to do is on the side here, making sure that our lining pieces are aligned. Mine keep sliding a little bit, but making sure that they're nice and aligned. You can actually sew with a seam allowance of your choice. You can use 5/8 or 1/2 inch, and you can close the side here and over here, making sure that everything is nice and aligned. So the same thing over here. Then on the bottom, making sure those bottom edges are aligned, you're going to sew across here using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So a 1/4 on the bottom and either 5/8 or 1/2 inch on the sides, depending on the amount of fabric you have over here. I'm back from sewing the sides and bottom closed. It'll look something like this when it's complete. If you flip over to the exterior side and you open your zipper, you can see here you have a nice fully lined pocket with no raw edges. That's the bottom and that's the top. So we're now going to move on to installing the number 5 zipper. Moving on to our number 5 zipper pocket assembly, you're going to grab your material with your pocket marked on it. I have my Faux Suede vinyl here with my pocket marked. We're first going to start with cutting down this center line down the middle from corner to corner, okay, not in here or in here, only from here to here. And we're going to do that with a rotary cutter. And then we're going to continue cutting with our scissors on these diagonal lines from the corner to the point and then the point to the corner on both sides. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so just like that, it's cut out. Taking our zipper tape, we are going to prep our zipper before we split it, unlike last time. So because the zipper tape on a number 5 zipper measures approximately 1 1/4 in width, while the number 3 is approximately 1 inch, we have an extra 1/4 inch of tape to deal with that we don't want to end up in that 1/2 inch opening for our zipper pocket. So what we need to do is we need to mark just under 1/8 of an inch, so less than 1/8 of an inch on each side of our zipper, so that we can offset the tape and not have it sewn into our seam allowance, so not include it within our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So now that I've marked my zipper on both sides, we can now divide it in half. With our exterior fabric and our 2 halves of our zipper, we're going to begin assembling the pocket similar to how we did the number 3 zipper, except with the addition of basting tape. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing 1/2 of the zipper to each side of the pocket. I'm going to show you on the right side to visualize it again, just like with the number 3. 1 is going to be sewn to this side, so with the right side of the zipper facing the right side of the fabric, and 1 is going to be sewn to this side. The only difference here is that we will not be aligning the edge of our fabric with the edge of our pocket here, the cut edge here. Instead, we're going to be offsetting it by that just under 1/8 of an inch that we marked earlier on our tape. So here and here. That way, the extra bit of zipper tape will be inside and it'll fit perfectly within this 1/2 inch pocket opening. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip over to the wrong side, just like before, and we're actually going to take one of our zipper tape halves, and we're going to get some double-sided basting tape. I have mine here, and we're going to align it with the edge of our zipper tape all the way across. And because the zipper tape, the basting tape is clear, we will still be able to see our markings underneath that line marking. Now the reason we're adding basting tape is it's just going to help keep it in place while we sew it. Then what we're going to do with our zipper here is we're actually going to center it with our pocket piece here. So as you can see, I've marked the middle of my pocket piece. I just have to mark the middle of my zipper as well. So right about here is the middle. Now you can also eyeball this instead of marking it. It's up to you. What we're going to do is we're going to take our zipper and put it underneath here because we need the right side of our zipper facing the right side of our exterior fabric. And we're going to bring those centers together. Oops, I just pulled it right through. Bring those centers together just like so. And again, instead of aligning this edge with the edge of the zipper tape, we're going to align it with that line that we drew earlier on the zipper. So the one that was just under 1/8 of an inch from the edge. My fingers are getting stuck to the tape. So right here, all the way along. So it'll look something like that. Then what you're going to do, similar to before, is you're going to sew right on this line from corner to corner. And that will actually be 1/4 inch from this cut edge. So we're going to sew from here all the way to here. Once that's sewn, it'll look something like this. I'm going to flip over to the right side. So on the right side, it'll look like that. And once you're done, you can actually gently remove that basting tape since it didn't get sewn in with the seam. So I already removed mine. Just be careful not to pull too hard because you don't want to rip any of these areas that were cut or any of your fabric. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to grab one of our lining pieces. Because I sewed my zipper to the bottom of my pocket, so the bottom edge, I'm going to be getting the smaller piece of lining, so the piece that measures 3.5 by 7. So that one there, not the one that's 1 inch larger. If you sewed your zipper to the top first, you'll be grabbing the larger piece first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my piece and I want to align it with the right side of the fabric facing the back of the zipper and the right side of my exterior fabric just like this. Okay, and what I can do is I can actually either use some quilting clips and hold it in place, or I can grab more of my double-sided basting tape and put it on the edge here of my lining, just like that. and I can actually stick it to my zipper. So line up the edge of my lining with the edge of my zipper, not the edge of the fabric. So right there. So edge of my lining with the edge of my zipper tape, just like so. Again, you can also use quilting clips or pins in place of the basting tape for this step. It's really up to you, whatever works best and whatever's easiest. Then once yours is basted, or sorry, using the basting tape or with the quilting clips or pins, you're actually going to sew once again in line with the same seam you just sewed on that bottom line, making sure to go from point to point, so corner to corner. Once you've sewn your lining to that half of the zipper, it'll look something like this. As you can see here, it's starting to take form. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to add our remaining half of our zipper to this remaining edge here. So we're going to do that by flipping over to the wrong side, like so. We're going to grab our remaining half of our zipper. You're going to add your double-sided basting tape to the edge of the zipper tape, just like before. I've already added mine. Then we're going to take our zipper tape, and with the right side of the zipper facing the right side of the fabric, we're going to center it under here. And just like before, we're going to align the edge of our exterior fabric with that marking and not the edge of our zipper. So with that straight line marking we did right at the beginning of the number 5 zipper assembly. Just like so. Yours will look a little bit better than mine. I have to fix mine. But once it's stuck just like that, we're going to flip over to the right side to make sure that our zipper tape halves are aligned. So once they're aligned right here, you're good to go. Flip back over to the wrong side. And then you're just going to, just like last time, you're just going to sew right along this line from corner to corner. Once the second half of the zipper tape is sewn, it'll look something like that. You can now go ahead and remove that double-sided basting tape from under here, making sure to be very gentle. And if you haven't already and you use double-sided basting tape when securing the lining on this side, you can also remove that basting tape. Then what we're going to do is we're going to attach the remaining piece of lining to this side of the zipper. So we're going to rotate this around and we're going to grab our remaining lining piece. This is the one that's 1 inch taller, so I have mine here. What we're going to do is we're going to flip it over so that the right side of the fabric faces the back of the zipper and the right side of the exterior. And we're going to align that 7-inch edge, or the edge here, with our zipper tape. So right across here, making sure that our linings are aligned. And again, just like last time, you can either use quilting clips, pins, or double-sided basting tape to secure this in place. I'm just going to grab quilting clips for now. And then you're going to flip over to the wrong side of your fabric, right over here. So I'm just going to pull these clips inside here. And you're just going to sew in line with the seam you just sewed, again from corner to corner. So we've now reached the point in the tutorial where the steps moving forward are exactly the same as the number 3 zipper. So I'll put a timestamp on screen you can use to jump over to those steps and complete your pocket, just so that this video isn't extremely long. That brings us to the end of this sewing tutorial, where we created one of these zipper pockets with a number 3 and number 5 continuous nylon zipper. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and I'll see you all next time with a new sewing project featuring these zipper pockets.